Mutant Chronicles, Fiction, The Apostle of Insanity Trilogy, Volume 3, Dementia, by Michael A. Stackpole. Chapter 14. Fei Fan shivered as we walked into Cybertronic headquarters. They say you can never go home again. Whoever said that never needed spare parts. I ushered the others into an elevator, and we ascended the 5th floor. A conference room on that level had been made available for us. When we walked in, we found an assortment of food and beverages that had undoubtedly been selected by a program that tried to generalize concerning what freelancers would enjoy eating. This meant we were supplied with cheap alcoholic beverages, a cold meat platter, and pastries. It wasn't a bad selection, but not the start of a Spartan high-caffeine fare conducive to planning a lightning assault on an enemy facility. I sent Ash to find me an urn of coffee. Pam used a phone to call Yojimbo and get him to join us. Klaus started picking through the food, and Lane fell in line behind him. Faye stretched out on the black leather couch in the back and began leafing through the latest Cybertronic catalog. With everyone occupied, I went subreal, sucking up an information packet, and was back out before anyone noticed my departure. The packet contained a number of things, all of them good news. While I had been away, Carl had been hard at work with his analysis, and he'd even shown some initiative, keying off my remark that a heretic at the crash would have been like a pyromaniac at a fire and would have stayed around to watch the aftermath of the accident. He pulled psychological evaluations for as many people as he could, looking for obsessive-compulsive individuals. The data that Ash shot him from the firefight helped narrow down the search, and Carl matched one person at the scene with the second heretic I'd shot. His window, it turned out, came from a family with a long history with Imperial. Her brother worked for their security division, and according to the information taken from an internal Imperial newsletter, had been promoted to acting security supervisor for a plant over in the Funarius sector. That put it almost on top of the Lunacy spaceport, and it fulfilled our criterion for the place where they would hold Lorraine. Once Yojimbo and the Whiz Kid arrived, Mr. Beach joined us and gave us a video presentation on the facility in question. Ford Wilson heads up security at Imperial BXR 5S3 building. The BX designation means the building itself has an outer box, with corridors and offices connecting the 4 corners of the box. This leaves 4 triangular courtyards, north, south, east, and west of the central cross. They extend all the way up from 2 floors that are above Funarius Sink. The courtyards are used as gardens and cafeteria seating, so they are overgrown with plants. They are small, but organic material might interfere with fields of fire. Below the ground you have 3 floors. They were carved out of lunar bedrock, so there's nothing but rock where you have gardens above. Consider the crossed square below ground a prison, from which the only route out is up. Beach froze the presentation at a schematic of the building. The R on the facility designation indicates a research lab. As such, bottom floors have their own life support systems and are isolated from each other. The lowest level was originally designated for medical research and has rooms suitable for human habitation, both patients and staff. We suspect Coven can be found down there. Beach started things again, and the video zoomed in on the building. Interior details became clear, and I saw we were dealing with a much larger amount of space than I had originally imagined. Instead of each section of the building being a corridor with rooms off to either side, the sections had 3 corridors each. All of them provided access to the lab on either side, with rooms jammed back to back in the center, Firefights down there could go from a room in bedrock to a corridor. In 2 or more rooms, another corridor, 2 rooms, a corridor and a dead end in bedrock on the other side of the building arm. The schematic didn't show the crossing corridors, but the interior rooms had clearly been constructed to allow quick alteration, so corridors could be anywhere. Yojimbo pointed toward the video monitor.
The size of this facility makes it rather difficult the possibility of finding Mrs. Okoven and getting her out quickly, does it not?
Beach nodded.
It would, but we have some advantages. This plant, which is called Fernarius Larkspur, was built right before Imperial decided to lease the Mercurial settlement to the Fukido from Mishima. It has been a pet project of one of the Maguires, and was all but abandoned when that Maguire was assassinated for his opposition to the leasing agreement. Without him to lobby in Parliament's chambers of the Lords for funding, Larkspur languished. Only recently had it been given funding, and that's pretty much just enough to get it up and running, so they can decide what to do with it. In that capacity, only the lowest level has its life support systems functioning fully. The other 2 subterranean levels are dead, and while not vacuum or filled with poisonous gases, they are stagnant and unused. The above-ground sections of the building have been leased out to private, freelance companies that Imperial has wanted to support and eventually buy out. That was typical operating procedure for Imperial. Most of the other corporations organized and funded their own research and development projects. Imperial preferred to use its vast wealth as investment capital and buy up young but promising companies. They even funded efforts by people who had left other corporations, luring them away from employers by promises of untold wealth. The reason that Imperial hated Cybertronic so much stemmed from the fact that Cybertronic employees seldom leave the fold, resulting in Imperial having no way to get its hands on Cybertronic developments. I tapped into more of the info packet I got when I went subreal. As it turns out, Cybertronic managed to set up a small corporation that Imperial wants to buy. Imperial does not know of the Cybertronic connection and offered us a space in Larkspur. The offices opened 2 months ago, and we can all gain access to the building through Hexargus Industrial. I searched the file that came out of the information packet for details about supplies. Mr. Beach, are weapons on site already? A limited number of them are, yes. More being brought in. We expected to have the supplies you need by Saturday, which is when we suggest the operation goes off. Pam looked up from some notes she had taken.
How do we know Coven won't be moved before that?
We don't, but Ford Wilson had reserved 2 berths on a capital ship called the Red Corsair for a run to Mars. The ship will dock at Fernarius a week from now. Beach shrugged. Wilson is under surveillance. If he moves early, we'll be alerted.
Klaus quickly swallowed a bite of Danish.
Any special security modifications? I don't like surprises. The original design of the building did not call for anything unusual, and other BXR-5S3 units have not yielded any surprises when explored. On the other hand, it is possible that Wilson, in bringing the facility up, has updated and improved the security measures and devices, and could even have used Dark Legion necrotechnology or funds to put things in there that Imperial did not know about, or people in Hexargus have not been informed of any new procedures for security in the upper floors, but none of them have access to the lower levels. So they don't know what is down there. Lane clearly didn't like the unknown.
Let's start running it down. Assuming we're in clear with Hexargus, how do we get to the lower levels?
Ingress comes through elevators. 4 shafts run through the building, though only one has access to the lower levels. It is key operated, and the use of the key, which is magnetically coded, turns on a camera that the security staff, located down in level 5, uses to inspect passengers and clears the elevator for descent. Klaus frowned at Beach. Unless we have a man in security down there, you can't bypass that clearance system. And if you have a man down there, you don't have to worry about it. Beach remained impassive. All shafts go down, but the elevator circuitry and the other three did not recognize the presence of the lower floors. Klaus smiled. So we blow the floor of an elevator and rappel down to the bottom. Pam shook her head. No go, Klaus. Security would hear the explosion, and getting Lorraine out will be a bitch, because the last time I saw her, she was comatose, not ambulatory. We need a way to get that elevator down there. No, Beach corrected her. You need a way to get one elevator down there. Tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday morning, Hexagus employees are replacing the circuitry in the other three elevators with boards that will not allow the elevators to descend all the way down. You'll have devices that can summon the elevator as you need them. Because Imperial only thought to rig one elevator going all the way down, they have no way of even monitoring when or if the others head down. That's stupid, Klaus grumbled. But fiscally responsible. I smiled carefully. Okay, we're down. What's next? Beach outlined the rest of the job as a snatch and grab. Surveillance suggested that Imperial had only put 36 security people on staff there, split into 3 shifts. Going in late on Saturday night meant we would have a minimal number of non-combatants on the site. He finished by going over the closest response garrisons for Imperial and provided us with numerous example routes, as well as an overview of the methods he'd be using to discourage pursuit. I looked at the others. What do you think? Yojimbo furrowed his brow. We know how many security people work at the site, but with the faculty for staff down on level 5, we do not know how many permanent individuals we can have down there. Given Wilson's involvement with a heretic, it is possible he has a dozen or so stashed down there. Beach nodded. We've considered snatching guards coming off duty and subjecting them to narco interrogation, but we think that would alert Wilson to our impending operation. I would point out to you the Rex will have Ash with him, and that the heretic ability to blind does not affect Ash. But will he shoot heretics? He will, Klaus. I opened my hands. At the midnight sun, he did not see the heretics as a threat to me, as they were intent upon shooting the Imperials. On this operation, he'll consider anything that is not Lorraine or one of us a threat. If it initiates hostile action, it dies. Yojimbo nodded. I believe the rest of the risks are within acceptable limits, provided the money's right. Pam turned toward me like a tiger stalking prey. How much? I shrugged easily. 20,000. 4 now, the rest after the operation, with only half being paid if you die in an unsuccessful effort. 20. Pam sat back and opened her arms. We're talking Cybertronic, Rex. 20. Try 40. 40. For that much, I could hire Snow White and 6 more dwarves like Ash to do the job. 25. 7,500 down. Same terms. 35. 10 now. 20 after, and 5 deferred for 60 days. Same terms otherwise. If you got 30 with 10 now, 15 after and 5 deferred, you have a deal. Pam smiled and took my outstretched hand. That's each, Rex, and a good deal. It's each of you, I know. I smiled openly. Glad to have you aboard. We spent the next 2 days refining our plans and watching surveillance videos of the site. The team remained at Cybertronic in case Wilson decided to move Lorraine prematurely. Since Cybertronic was supplying equipment for the raid, the 2-day vacation at our headquarters allowed the others to get used to the weapons Cybertronic manufactures. The time they spent training, I spent sleeping. When I first laid down and tried to relax, too many thoughts stormed through my head. Even though we had everything figured out, we could have been planning based on the tip of the iceberg, and that meant we could have a rude surprise waiting for us when we went in.
I knew Beach was trying to minimalize that possibility, and the things he didn't think to check, Yojimbo asked about anyway. Leaving all the planning up to them allowed me to drift off to sleep, but anxiety haunted me in my dreams. I found myself alone in a room filled with gray mist. It swirled around me as I walked forward. The mist itself glowed, giving me what little light I had to work with. I tried to shift over to IR and UV light, but in my dream, I could not. This frightened me because I knew that it meant I was locked into the body I had before Cybertronic had made me better. The mist cleared off to my right, and I turned to face it. There, trapped in a mirror-like glass panel, I saw Lorraine Coven. A smile lit her face, and the laughter in her eyes made her positively radiant.
You are a caution. I see why Anna couldn't get away from Nicholas. When I asked her to see if there were any more at home like him, I didn't expect you'd be the answer.
Lorraine, what are you talking about?
There you go again. It's me, Cassandra. You pledged your life in my defense, if need be. And you are my rock. Be true to yourself, you said.
Her smile began to die, and her features began to slacken.
Because of you, we went to Venus. And what did you do? You died.
I don't understand.
I never thought you'd take the easy way out.
The word out echoed through the mist as Lorraine exploded into a tinkling hail of 1,000,000 glass shards. I felt them rip through me, but their sting came to me as if as distant as the echoes of her voice. The pain I felt was a twin of the pain I had felt at her departure for Venus. It hurt, but did not destroy me. Silence never had a chance to again command the dream realm. Slow and insistent, beginning as something I felt more than I heard, a muted tapping sound entered my dream. As the sound grew, the pounding bass tones fluttered through my chest and set up a rhythm in the mist. Its translucency fluctuated with the sound, becoming nearly transparent as the noise hammered me, enshrouding me in solid gray. In the villages within the thunderous assault, a final boom dropped me to my knees. Looking up, I saw myself before an ornate wooden door. Real wood, not fiberplast. A gold sheen marked highlights on the mahogany panels. It struck me as being of an odd shape, but the significance of that shape, of the narrowing at the top and bottom, and the bulging a third of the way down, did not come to me immediately. Only as I reached for the doorknob, which I found to be cold, and twisted it, did I realize the door was the lid to a coffin. It opened on creaking hinges. Nestled within the pink satin quilting, I saw a fire-blackened skeleton, with inch-wide gaps in its long bones. The first of the large lumbar vertebra had been crushed to powder. Looking up into its empty eye sockets, I could see through its shattered crown to the lace pillow behind its head. The skeleton wore a shoulder holster with a bolter in it. It hadn't been there when I first opened the coffin, but the logic that comes with dreams, I knew it always had been there. Then, without motion on the skeleton's part, the gun was drawn and held pointing in my direction. The skeletal hand that held it did not waver, and the gun's weight posed no problem for an arm missing segments from its long bones. The skeleton's mandibles slowly opened. Do you know why the dead hate the living? You're a dream. I'm a nightmare. Do you know what death is? The cessation of life. No, it is an eternity of frustration. All your hopes, all your dreams, all your whims are destroyed, and all your pain and your fear and your private terrors will never know relief. They are all you have left. They are all you have left me. The voice was my own. Its timbre and quality were slightly different, but the words and how they were strung together was me. I've taken nothing from you, but you have. You have my body. You have my skills. You weren't using them, but you have not used them as I would have. You are our second chance. I'm my own first chance. You are not separate from me. I have nothing to do with you. You are me. We are each other. Death does not wipe the slate clean. Everything I had at the moment of my death, you inherited at the moment of your birth. I want nothing from you. You failed. You died. And without me, you will die again. We'll see about that. So we will. The skeleton lowered the gun, and the tableau began to dissolve. Remember, not dying is not really living. Without me, survive though you may, you will never be alive. Mutant Chronicles, Fiction, The Apostle of Insanity Trilogy, Volume 3, Dementia, by Michael A. Stackpole. Chapter 14, End.